According to statistics, close to 20% Nigerians live with dyslexia, and most of them don't even know. These people develop this condition as kids, and they grow up with it, struggling with one learning disability or the other all their life. Some of them have difficulties understanding, some have difficulties writing. Joining us in our conversation today is a dyslexia survivor who is also an author. I'll be discussing the symptoms of dyslexia as well as living with it. So don't go anywhere. I'm your host Mandy, and this is Deep Dive, exclusive to My Color TV. We'll be right back. Joining us today is the CEO of Smart Career Agency, Mr. Miracle Meribe, who is also an author and educational consultant. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Miss Amanda.
Thank you. So let's go straight to the matter. I believe that before we can really understand what we're discussing today, people want to know what exactly this health condition is about. What is dyslexia, and also what are the different types of dyslexia?
Okay, dyslexia is it's to a lot of people. It means a lot of things to a lot of people.
Okay.
Now, some people call it disease. I know because of ignorance about it, they call it a disease. Dyslexia is not a disease. Some people say is a learning disorder. Some people say a lot of things about it. But I love what the Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary, the 8th edition, precisely said about dyslexia. It said dyslexia is a learning disorder that affects reading, writing, and spelling, for example, but it does not affect intelligence. So what that means is that dyslexia is a learning disorder that affects reading. That's a learning disorder in the brain that affects reading, writing, and spelling, for example, but it does not affect intelligence in the sense that dyslexia, somebody that has dyslexia might not be able to read, might not be able to write or thereabout, but the person will be can be extremely intelligent. So in come to talk about that, there are different types of intelligence. It's, according to a professor of education, or Gardner, it talks about the different types of intelligence, which are the linguistic intelligence, mathematical intelligence, mathematical and linguistic intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, musical intelligence, kinesthetic intelligence, and the rest of them. So, dyslexia is a condition where a child, an individual, it cannot be maybe from the age of 4, being discovered that this child, from the age of 4, compared with his mates, struggles to read, struggles to talk, struggles to write. That these are the signs that can tell you that these are some signs that can tell you that an individual is dyslexic. And you don't just conclude that the person is dyslexic. You need to go for a kind of screening test or a diagnosis, proper assessment, to know how to remediate such a person.
Okay. You mentioned something about age. If you notice that a child at a certain age cannot read or write, dyslexia, is it particular to a particular age? Is there a particular age where these symptoms, or you can really recognize this condition in a child?
Yeah, that's why I said earlier on, from between the age of 4 to 6,
okay,
you can start observing it. It might be observed by the parent or by the teacher or somebody who have knowledge about dyslexia. However, there's crass ignorance about dyslexia, not just in Nigeria but in the world at large. But however, in Nigeria, the crass ignorance the range is very wide, in the sense that when people see that someone is dyslexic, especially teachers or some parents, they call them all manners of names. They call them Olodo, they call them Itiboribo, and some even go to this saying that the person is a wizard or is an Obanje, especially in the remote village areas. They call them all manners of names. And this really affects the psyche of these children while they're growing up, and it grows till they become an adult. So I was once like that, so I struggled with it from childhood. and it wasn't easy on my side, and but I thank God for my mom. May also rest in peace, Miss Catherine Meribe. She really did a lot of work, and my friend Emeka Wajeyi. These are two people I know that did a lot of work on me till I was able to come out of it. So it was not easy for me. I remember while I was growing up, from point 1 to 6, I couldn't spell arati rat as a student. So I vowed that I would not further my education again. So my father, being an autocratic parent, I said no matter what he says, I won't obey him. I won't go further my education. I'll go and learn how to sell a goosey or bono. Or this. We were brought up in Lagos and Nigeria precisely. So I said I'll go and learn how to do all those things instead of what's the need for doing my education when I can read, I can't spell. I was a laughing stock. My younger ones could spell, could read and do all that things, but my case was a difficult one. I remember a woman in my compound, Mama Ikaite, at number 13 Obuanko Lane, Ajiguna Papa, Lagos. She wants to be to spell I, and I remember telling her I, as in Anya, I, and she laughed me to scorn, So that's a typical example of somebody struggling with dyslexia. But today the story is no longer the same.
Okay. Before I go into how parents and teachers react to children with this, with the age bracket you've given us, is there any possibility of an adult realizing that he has dyslexia even at old age, or is it just particular? Is it a condition particular to just kids?
Just as I said earlier on, you start observing from the age of 4 to 6. You start observing it.
What if the person didn't observe it at that age?
The person might not observe it. I mean, adults who have knowledge about it can observe it and discern that this person has this condition. It's not a disease, so it doesn't need a medical doctor to treat the person or give the person drug, but you need experts to identify it, run a diagnosis, because dyslexia is of various types. You get me? Now, apart from dyslexia, there are other learning disorders, which are dyscalculia, which are problems with people having problems with arithmetics. There's dysphagia, people that have issues, problems with pronunciations. There's dyspraxia, people that have problems with coordinating themselves. There is dyscalculia. Okay, I've said it earlier on. Then there's dysorthographia, people having difficulty with spelling. So there is also dysgraphia, people having difficulty with writing, having poor handwriting, not having a legible handwriting. So, and ADHD. So it varies on individuals. So all individuals that are dyslexic don't have all these things the same way, but they have it in different aspects. For instance, I know one of my mentors who is an authority in dyslexia today all over the world. 8 of her children are all dyslexic now, but they have it in varied form. It's not just one particular form, because if somebody have dyslexia, the person might also have dyscalculia, might also have dysorthographia, might also have dysgraphia, but some other person might be dyslexic as well. Dyslexia is a problem with reading. Now, the person that have dyslexia can also have another person that has dyslexia can also be good with writing or thereabouts. So it varies. So, but that's why it's advisable that the individual that has been discovered, that has been identified to have dyslexia, needs to undergo screening tests. We run some screening tests or diagnosis on such individual. When we detect the particular type of dyslexia the person have, then we will now know the expert assessments and remediation we need to apply on the person to help the person to manage the situation.
Okay, you mentioned that your mentor had kids, her kids had dyslexia. The mentor, she or he, sorry? Does she have dyslexia?
No, she doesn't. She might not. I don't really know. No, there was no trace of her having dyslexia.
Okay.
However, dyslexia runs in the family.
So it's hereditary.
It's hereditary.
Okay. Apart from it being hereditary, what are the other causes of dyslexia?
Okay. Dyslexia, there are two types of dyslexia.
Okay.
There is a developmental dyslexia, which is the hereditary dyslexia. And there is developmental dyslexia, and there is also acquired dyslexia. Now, the dyslexia by developmental dyslexia, which is hereditary dyslexia, is the one that is caused by is in the gene. So someone is born with it.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, George Bush, his father, gave birth to all his children. George Bush, in particular, inherited dyslexia from his father.
So it's possible for all, if you have 5 kids,
Yeah.
the 5 of them, just one could be
Might have it.
dyslexia.
Just like I said, my mentors, all at 8
Kids.
children had it.
Okay.
So it depends. It's not, but George Bush, among his siblings, is the only person that had dyslexia. In fact, I did not notice also by research that even Donald Trump is said to be having dyslexia. Yes. Yeah, because dyslexia is I see dyslexia as every dyslexic person is a star. Is a star. Is not a disease. Is a different way that their brain is being wired. Now when I talk about this developmental dyslexia, how does it come to be? Now, when during the gestation period in the womb, now when the child is being formed in the womb, there is flow of cells from the right to the right. You know, each human being has the right part of the brain and the left part of the brain. Now we meant to understand that the right part of the brain is used for intuitive, creativity, music, and the rest of them, while the left part of brain functions in the area of writing, the area of reading, in the area of critical thinking, and thereabouts, analysis and all that. Now, during the gestation period in the womb, now when cells, there's a period where cells flows to the right part and to the left part of the brain. They are naturally speaking, they are supposed to be equal flow of cells to the right and equal flow of cells to the brain. But when there is now a kind of mutation, a kind of gene mutation, whereby cells, a lot of cells flow to the right part of the brain and less cells flows to the left part of the brain. That is what causes the developmental dyslexia, which is the genetically made dyslexia.
Okay, before we enter the acquired one, the developmental one, is there any way to detect if a child, like before the child is actually born, while pregnant, detect that your child is going to have this condition? Because you said it could happen during the gestation period. Is there any medical way of finding out if your child will have this condition?
Well, I'm not sure there's any.
Okay.
As I said earlier on, it needs to be identified while the child is growing up.
So you can,
from 4 to 6 years, you start identifying when the child is not coping up in the classroom.
Okay, since it's hereditary, when you find out that it's in your bloodline, you as the woman or maybe your husband, that is in your child is possibly going to have this condition and you're pregnant, is there maybe a kind of lifestyle, maybe feeding or something that you're supposed to start living or start eating, something you're supposed to be doing to take care of yourself better to avoid it from happening?
No, if it's there,
It's
it's
just
there.
something that will
It's not
happen
any
if
food
it's
you take that will help it out.
Okay.
There's no food you take. But if you take some certain kind of food, it can help the child. But it's like now, have you watched this movie called Like Stars on Earth?
Yes, I think so.
There's a movie like Stars on Earth.
Yeah,
It's
I
an
have.
Indian movie.
Yes.
Ahead. So when you watch that movie, you will see
Yeah,
the child's
child had
dyslexia. You find out the parents did not understand him.
Yes.
The mother, the teachers in the school, everybody, they didn't understand him until the teacher came and I keenly watched him and identified that this child has this condition and did his best to, help the child now to channel his strength to the place he knows what to do best. For instance, they said if a child does not learn the way we teach, we should rather teach the way they learn. If a child does not learn the way we teach, someone said that We should rather teach the way that they learn. So the onus lies more in the teaching process. The parents have a lot to do in that respect, and also combined with the effort of the teachers in the classroom.
Okay.
Because the conventional school does not understand a child that is dyslexic.
Yeah, that's very important to touch and understand how that has been recently with the new awareness and everything. But before we go into that, what are the causes of the acquired dyslexia? What could lead to it if it's not hereditary?
Okay, what will lead to it is one of them is a form of a kind of when if a woman gives birth under excruciating pain,
Okay.
trauma, a woman gives birth under trauma, and also she is exposed to toxic substances while she was pregnant. Another way around about it is, for instance, when a child, maybe a baby is being carried, and the child fell down and the head hits the ground, it might cause such. Or a child is being knocked on the head, or being hit on the head, because as the children are growing up, their brains are forming, and it's still fragile, so such can come up. This is a kind of accidental dyslexia or nurture dyslexia. I will just use the word dyslexia by nurture.
Okay. When a child, some of the symptoms which you're going to outline to us, what the symptoms are, but when you see these symptoms, what is the parent or guardian supposed to do next?
When you see the
First,
symptoms,
what
first
are
thing
the
you need to do,
symptoms?
as I said earlier on, is you go for a screening test or a diagnosis
Okay.
from an expert. We run such as well. In our organization, we run such screening tests or diagnosis, because we work with some also medical neurological pediatricians to run diagnosis or run screening tests on the person. So when we identify the particular, like for instance, a girl that is 17 years of age, she's an house help to a particular woman that we also care for our children who are not dyslexic. So she came to make inquiry about the issues, although we told her she didn't know about it, so she came and asked us. So she went somewhere and paid money for the girl to be helped out of it. So when that was done, she found out that within 1-2 months or thereabout, she wasn't getting what she expected. So she came to us and asked us. So I explained to her that all these things she explained about this girl is a sign that this girl is dyslexic. So she was like, wow, it's true. So when the screening was done, the result came out, and we started taking care of the girl. So within 1 month, a girl that could not identify ABC, for instance, if you had ABCD right now, tell her to point Z, she'll be pointing K. Tell her to point K, she might be pointing T. So within 2 weeks, she was able to identify these words, these letters, and she can, if you tell her point any of them, she can point these letters, this alphabet for you. Now, within 1 month, we observed that because of the expert assessments on remediation we applied on her, she was able to spell 2-letter words. Not just recognize them, she can spell 2-letter words and also 3-letter words, because you take them from the grassroots. From A, B, C, D. When they master that, then you go to 2-letter words, then you go to 3-letter words, and from there they start assimilating. And mind you, she was 17 years of age when they brought her to us.
So this you just explained is management of dyslexia. Aside from management, is there a cure? Can it be treated like some of other medical conditions?
That's why I said that dyslexia is not a disease.
Okay.
It's a different style of learning. Let me put it that way. It's a different style of learning because of the issue that happened in the brain during the gestation period, or the acquired part type, which is the nurture that happened after birth. So it's not a disease. If it's a disease, then we just need an operation to be done on the person, or a kind of drugs to medications to be given to the person.
Okay. So just for everybody else to know, are there dangers to the lifestyle of a person if this condition goes undiagnosed.
Undiagnosed.
Yes, undiagnosed. Is there any danger that this person is likely to face growing up?
Yes, there are a lot of dangers.
Okay.
The person will live his life of solitude. The person will not be able to, stay in the same class with others, whereby the person feels rejected. That my life is look. Now, there are a lot of them because if you go to the streets, some of these trance in the streets, these agberos, or thereby you go to Lagos, the agberos, you see some of these street orchards. Most of them are dyslexic, and they tend to be aggressive. Because they know that they have issue. When you try to tell them to read, and they find it difficult reading, they try to be aggressive, or they keep quiet. They don't want to talk. Then when you want to force them to do it, and they try to revenge or fight back, because since they might not be able to tell you that I have a condition, I can't read. Yeah. So they might want to do it by overpowering you, by fighting you, or thereabouts. So a lot of the great dangers, especially also at the workplace. Now, when someone that is dyslexic, you've heard about today, you hear some news, some coppers who at their place of primary assignment, they could not write, I want to go out. You've had news like that. You've had news where a copper could not be able to write his name or thereabout. You've had news in that in Nigeria here. So these are the challenges they will face if it's not it's not early identification is the best for it. So that's why we are educating the parents and letting them know about this, because many parents are very, very ignorant. I'm sorry to say this. Even the teachers are ignorant about this. So the early identification is the best, so that it will help the child to manage the condition, so that the child can be able to read and be able to be included that's what is called inclusive education. So that they don't say that this one, you don't know anything, you are dull-brained and you can't read and thereabout. So this gives them confidence to be able to talk or stay in the same class with children who are non-dyslexic.
Wow, guys, I've learned so much. Like, do I need to say more? When this started, I didn't know this much about dyslexia, and I believe you also didn't know much. So if you have a family friend, or even yourself, or you have a kid and you've seen one or two symptoms and believe that this person has this condition, you can reach out to the agents. And also, if you have a topic you want us to discuss on this show, or you have a comment on this particular conversation, you could drop in the comment box below. Until next time, I'm Mandy, and this is Deep Dive, exclusive to My Color TV. Bye for now.
Life in living color.